Alright, welcome to episode 3 of How to Play Star Wars Galaxies. Today we're going to learn a little bit about combat, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about this little toolbar guy down here. To start off though, if you're in a combat profession, if you press your P button, or if you're on your toolbar over here, it is in your profession. This is the one of few buttons where actually P stands for profession. It opens this window up. It shows you the different phases of your combat profession, and every time you level up four levels, or in between four levels, it shows your different abilities you get, and each of these tends to be a skill. You see all the different skills you get, but you also look on the colon semicolon keyboard button on the keyboard, which is also your abilities or your commands. They've changed the name of it. You can see under combat, you'll actually get different the different listing of abilities you have. Now, when they range from 1 to 5 or 1 through 7, essentially 1 is the first one you got, and the next each time that goes up is the stronger ability of that version. I don't know why they don't just get rid of the lower versions once you get the new version. It's kind of pointless to do that, but anyways, that's what they give you. So as I've already got my buttons down here in the bottom, you'll see like Force Lightning number 7 Hurricane is already down there. So, and that's how you drag them. Just click and drag, put it where you want to put it. Same with any social commands, any of the mood commands, macros you may make, anything for a costume, and there's other commands for miscellaneous that aren't really combat related, or that maybe they're entertainer related or something of that nature. But once you get them down there, you have your zoom out a little bit so you can see your screen, see your area and who you're fighting. Now I'm level 90 and I've got a good weapon, so any basically 1 or 2 hits from these guys is going to instantly kill them. No specials needed. You'll see 1 hit, he died. If you have this cursor, as I mentioned before, with the little red crosshairs, this is kind of the best tool I think to use for melee professions, because all you do is click on it and you attack. Click on it and attack. It doesn't involve you really needing to change your intended target. Now, if you want to do that, select your intended target and then attack. You can, but you don't really need to with this one. Now, if we press the Y command and go back to this circle with a dot in the middle, I don't really know what it's called. That's why I call it a circle. And you left click, you will attack just like with the other one. But let's say you change your intended target and you start trying to attack this one. It doesn't change it. When you have this is mostly used for like ranged weapons, anything you're trying to do from a distance. So like if I don't have my mouse anywhere near this guy, it's just off of here, and I press my number 2 button, which would activate my command that's above the number 2, anything on the bottom row is directly tied into on your keyboard to the number below it. The ones above it do not have a key tied to it, but you can do so later on if you decide to go into the options bar, go into key mapping, and change it in here. But we have his intended target on here. We press the number 2 button, and my lightning goes and gets him. So I didn't have to be clicked anywhere near him. Same goes when you click on a character. Just like if we had this and we were attacking him, we would do that. But now let's say we change our weapon. I'm gonna click here on my gun. I'm gonna change my intended target on him. Change to this circle. I'm not clicked on him, but I'm gonna left click, and I shot. It's as simple as that. So if you are having to do a lot of running around and moving, and you don't want to worry about having to keep your mouse on the guy as you're shooting him, change to this, and every time you push the mouse button, it will shoot at the intended target only. This is great for group combat, or if you're having a big battle and you're having a hard time actually, fighting the person you're shooting. Sometimes maybe characters are so big, they overlap smaller characters and maybe the smaller ones who you're really trying to get. So it's a good way to help minimize the confusion. For me though, with melee, you have to be so close to whatever you're hitting anyways. I pretty much stay on this one, and it also allows me to change who I'm fighting very easily by just clicking on the person next to me. So I'm going to change back to my lightsaber. Now other buttons, other things can be put down here. You can do, as here I have different power-ups, I have food, I have little bonuses I've gotten. Um, Virtually anything, even vehicles, can be put down here. So if you have a vehicle and you say I want to put my vehicle down here, and once we call it, I would disable vehicle. But once you call it, it's there. You click it again and it goes away. So that's basically it. Now the next part about combat, really quick, I wanted to touch on weapons. I wanted to show you the difference in a ranged weapon versus a melee weapon. They all have the same kind of stats as far as like type of damage and speed and everything, but ranged weapons tend to have attack speed of 1, which is slower than 0 0.8. That means it's about every second you get a hit, and about every 0.8 of a second you get a hit. This is because with melee you have to be up close, but they also make the melee, the damage output's a lot higher than it would be for just a ranged weapon. Of course, this is all depending on what kind of quality weapons you get and how good the crafter is and all that. But that's the general rule. You have an elemental type. Based on some debate, some people think this is very crucial. Depending on what you're doing, it may be crucial. If it's a specific high-end boss, it might have to be very specific on what elemental type you're dealing. You also for PvP, it might be critical. But for I want to say 95% of the combat out there, it really doesn't matter. I use a very basic elemental type that has a very low number on it usually and doesn't bother anything. Um, the type also tends to give a different effect. If you have like acid, tends to causes an extra attack that happens at the time that you are doing your normal attack. Heat will also cause your opponent to catch on fire, which will be a damage over time attack. So over time they'll start kind of like bleeding in other games. Your base DPS though, your weapon DPS is essentially what you're more focused on. That is that is the number that's based on your speed and your damage output, what kind of damage rate you'll get. Granted, this can change depending on learning about criticals and learning about other things and other techniques, but this is what you're really going to be concerned with. So a lot of times you'll see people being really critical about having just a few more points of DPS. So that's basic weapon knowledge and basic how to go around and attacking things. So until next time, hope you enjoyed this, and we'll cover some more combat things later on. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.